Yo, what's going on? Welcome back to the Danway podcast. It's gonna be a good one today, man. I got a brother from home, from Edgewood, Maryland. It's,
That's
it's
right.
not too many times I get to talk to somebody from home to be on the podcast, so I'm looking forward to this conversation. Uh, and my brother's name is Jason Bennet. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, Luke, pleasure, man. It's a pleasure and an honor to be on your podcast, my friend.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. I
Been a
appreciate
few
that.
years, you know.
It's been a while, man, and I was thinking about that coming up, and I was like, man, because I haven't lived in Maryland. I think 2009
Right,
2009 was when I moved to Tennessee, so I
got you.
haven't been really back consistently in years. So it's been a long time since
Are
you
you
know.
haven't been back to visit either?
Well, I've come back and visit, but at the end of the day, like it's weird because I love Maryland, man. I love Edgewood and where I grew up at, but once you find another place that feels like home,
Right.
it's it's hard to come back. And some of my close friends, you remember Cleon, right?
Yep.
Cleon
Yep.
High.
Hmm.
So that was one of my good friends. I would come back before he passed away and chop it up with him. But um, I don't. It's not too much of my brother. He lives in D.C. and he was in Middle River, and I was trying to get out there with
Well, there
him.
ain't a
But
whole lot here for you anymore, is what I'm hearing.
yeah,
And there's nothing
yeah.
wrong with saying that, bro. You know, it's nothing wrong
I
with
mean,
saying that. It
and
is what
that's
it
what it is.
is.
But when I'm able to get out there, I make the most of it. I see Miss Julie, and Jessica Ridley and all of them, and
Oh yeah,
those,
those are my people. You know, the Barmers and the Bennetts were pretty tight.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, they're my people.
my son's really good friends with Jordan.
Yeah, and see, it's funny seeing Jordan because he grown. I remember
Yeah,
being around
grown man,
town.
bro.
And Jordan was, a little kid, man. And
Hmm.
even Jessica, her daughter, when I left, she was a
She's a
baby. Now
senior, I think now. Yeah.
yeah. So it's
Hmm.
funny. It's funny, and I keep up with all of y'all on Facebook
No,
as well. So
of
I,
course.
always,
That's kind of
I
what
know
we
what's
all do,
going
right?
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's what it is, man. But I really want you on, man, just to talk. And I'm trying to like transition my podcast into like entrepreneurship, like business, and I see what you're doing out there with the real estate, man. I'm like, I want to have you on to talk a little bit about that and
Sure.
incorporate, kind of mix a little bit of a little simulation, mix a little bit of a wheelchair, like some disability stuff in that. And I
Sure.
don't know if you ever had a client had to deal with that, but
Hmm.
before we get into
Yep.
that, man,
Yep. Yeah, man.
we are.
Doing this 15 years, there's not a whole lot that I don't think I've dealt with. But you know,
Mhm.
I don't like to say that because then something else happens, you know, and then I'm dealing with
Yeah,
something else. But
knock on wood.
not all situations are bad or stressful though, you know.
Mhm. So I get that.
Some are just learning experiences.
Yes, sir. So you still in Edgewood, by the way?
I am actually. I'm still in Edgewood. I own a few rental properties as well
Okay.
in Edgewood. All the ones I own personally are in Edgewood. I believe in investing in your own backyard, as they
Yes,
call it.
sir.
Um,
Hmm.
but you know, I do manage 37 other properties, which not all of them. They range everywhere from let's say Parkville, you know, towards the city there, all the way down to Hanover, Maryland, all the way back up to Cecil County. So
Okay.
little bit of everything in the pool there.
That's what I see, man. Like I say, you're doing your thing, man. Like I
I'm
check up
trying,
to you
bro.
all the way on Facebook, and I really proud of you and what you be doing. I know we
Thanks,
don't
man.
talk like that, but
Yeah,
I
appreciate it.
grew up with y'all, man. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
seeing
you knew you knew the dirt and the mud I came from, you know. So you know, somebody like yourself can appreciate it a little bit more, I guess.
yes, sir. So, man, what made you want to get into you know to the game, to the real estate game?
Well, I've always, you know, not to pat myself on the back, but I've always been good with people, and I've always been good with money. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, an opportunity presented was presented to me kind of out of a dark place, mind you. I was really sick for a
Mm-hmm.
long time, and the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. So I was actually pretty much bedridden at one point, but I had a really good job. and I couldn't go because I was sick. So,
Mm-hmm.
in the midst of all this getting tested and having to go for all these blood tests and things like that, I started feeling sorry for myself, and I was like, nah, this really ain't. This ain't really me. You know what I mean? It wasn't my personality. It didn't make me happy. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna get up no matter what, and I want to see what this real estate thing is about. So I contacted a gentleman that I knew through someone else. There was a local Edgewood guy that he was the guy in Edgewood for real estate. His name's Paul
Mm-hmm.
Diggs. Um, Paul's still a very good friend of mine, but I reached out to him, and we had a meeting, and he agreed to let me come on as basically an intern, an unpaid position for a very long time, so I could learn. And then I just built from there. I started out doing property management with him, and he ended up paying for me to get my real estate license because that company liked the way I did property management, so they invested in me. And then from there, I just took off. Paul ended up selling his company. He went through some personal matters where he had to sell the company or chose to sell. I'm not sure the details,
Yeah,
but and that's when J Properties was born. After he sold his company, I started my own.
that's what's up, man. So talk about working being an intern for free, man.
Whew.
How is it like? How do you make that decision to say, look, I'm just about to grind it out. I don't care if it's for free, but I'm about to learn this game, man. Like, how do you
That's a good
come to
question.
terms with that?
I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest. I mean, it sounds
Mhm,
ridiculous. At the time I had two kids, um,
mhm,
and it was a decision that I just knew was right. I knew the way everything was going with the job and everything. Well, and backtrack a little bit. After I got my feet wet into this property management, situation and starting into real estate with Paul and his company, they finally figured out what was wrong with me in the mix of all that. Found out I
mhm.
had Lyme disease.
Okay.
So yeah, it was chronic Lyme disease, which I still deal with it to this day. But it's just a thing. I'm blessed. I'm grateful. I try not to dwell on it, but it is what it is. And without it, I would have probably never got into real estate. So I'm grateful. But anyway, to get back to it, get back on track. So I just I'm very grateful and I'm very blessed. And even a little bit lucky if you want to throw that in there because once I got my feet wet and things started rolling on the real estate side, I actually got cleared to go back to work. So when I
Okay.
when I went to go back to work, the guy in charge of HR, Bob, really stand up guy, he told me, he said, come back to work for one day. Wouldn't tell me why, because I could have continued to take off with the doctor's notes. But I got them to clear me for the one day. I came back, come to find out they were shutting the whole plant down. And I needed to come back for that one day to get my severance package and some health benefits with the severance package. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I chose to jump off the deep end like that. But it all worked out, man. I was able to get a little bit of a severance package from my last job to kind of carry me into the real estate venture. And then just grinded it out from there.
Definitely feel that, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
little blessed luckiness and all that mixed in one pot,
Sure, yeah,
bro.
it's all one big ball, man.
Because when the things start working out like that, I mean, that kind of give you confirmation to
It's
even grind a little
confirmation. Yep.
harder.
Yep. Confirmation's a
Hey
big
man,
word.
things are working out, man, and let me grind a little harder with this. Got a little money, but um, let me see my next question I'm going to ask you, bro. Well, let me ask you about that Lyme disease first of all, because that's good. I didn't know about that. By this being a disability podcast,
Correct.
let's
Hmm.
talk about that for a minute. Like,
Well, yeah, and just turn my volume up a little bit here, but I a lot of people don't know that. I mean, it's not something I necessarily speak on a lot, you
yeah,
know, because it's not a fun topic. People don't want to hear,
Mhm.
about my woes and disabilities and things like that. I really rarely speak on it, even on Facebook, and as active as I am on there,
Mhm.
because it's just a known fact that people only want to hear the good or know the good. But at the end of the day, um, that Lyme disease is a really a big problem that, and I'm not trying to compare it to cancer by far. We all have
Hmm.
loved ones, I'm sure, has passed away from cancer. But it just seems like one of those diseases that they're not they don't have any interest in curing because there's not enough hype or money in it. Cancer
Hmm.
makes a lot of money. I hate to say it like that, but
Yeah,
it does. It makes trillions of dollars. Nobody, unless you have Lyme disease or somebody really close to you does, nobody's really concerned about curing it.
yeah,
So, it's different levels of it. Some people will get the medication and be done with it and never have to worry about it for the rest of their life.
mm,
And those people are blessed, and good for them. Unfortunately, when I found out that I had it, it had already done so much damage to my nerves and joints and things
mm,
like that, that it was impossible to cure. The only thing they could do was pretty much slow down or stop what has already happened.
yeah,
Um, but also, the older I get, the worse these I call them episodes, because
mm,
I have these episodes where my joints hurt. I'm really fatigued. Kind of don't want to get out of bed, type of deal, things like that. But then you start getting in your head, and I think we all know
mm,
about once you start getting in your head, right? That's a dangerous place to be.
mm.
So you just kind of got to use whatever can motivate you, and keep it pushing.
Well, for sure, man. You talk about using it to motivate. You say you don't like to talk about it, but I like to talk about it because I'm a firm believer in community. You know,
Hmm.
we can encourage each other. And
Right,
somebody may be listening to this right now, may
right,
not have Lyme disease, but is having a hard time getting out of bed. And I just talked
right,
about
right.
how good of a person you are and successful you are. And if you can feel that way, they can fight to
Yeah,
get
that's,
out of bed
that's
and
real.
be successful
That's real.
too, man. So, you may not want to talk about it. We don't have to really speak on it too much, but
Oh no, no, I
that
don't, I
little
don't,
bit.
I don't, I don't mind talking out about it on a platform. I
Mhm,
just, I typically, like I said, it's one of those weird things when you just talk about it in public, or even maybe even social media, things like that.
mhm,
People don't want to hear about it, or um, it causes a chain reaction of
mhm.
everybody else talking about everything they got going on. So then now it just turns into, kind of a dang, we're all screwed up around here type of deal, which is
Nah, I think
okay.
I believe we all screwed up
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
sense. We all got something going on with us, and
So
um,
I don't mind talk about it on the platform. I just don't want to be one of those people. I guess I feel like I'm burdening folks sometimes when we speak on it.
yeah, understandably,
If
man.
that makes
I feel
sense.
like
I
that
don't know.
myself sometimes.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
no, I mean, I relate to that. I relate to a lot of things. Like even ask for help, bro. Like I hate to
yeah.
ask for help because I feel like I'm a burden to somebody. And
Right, yeah,
it's
I get
like
that.
so. I definitely understand where you're coming from, and even I tell you when I recording, I went to a funeral today. The only reason why I went, I didn't want to ask for a ride. The reason why I
Right,
went is because it was literally when I found out what church it was literally around the corner from where I lived at. So I
right,
was like, oh, I can go, and I ain't got to be
right,
waiting on nobody. I'm a person I hate to be late.
right, right.
So I
Me
ain't
too.
gonna lie
Me
to you, I
too.
hate to be late.
Me too.
So the person I was gonna get a ride from was really late. I mean, the preacher was closing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. So I know you glad. I
So
know you glad you didn't wait.
for real, man. So I
That was a-
was,
a good that was a good decision right there.
I just, I'm not. I mean, and I hate it. So that's why, like,
well,
I
and,
don't
and
really.
oh, go ahead. Go
Well,
ahead.
I just say I don't really, like to ask, um, unless I really have to. Like, if I can take care of myself, I'll do it myself. But I'm
Right,
not a big fan of, trying to put my
assistant.
burden on somebody. And I know, in my real friends, they make it known that it's not a burden. We here for you, but it still
Yeah, but I
feels like
get
a
it.
burden.
Right, right. I definitely get it. And it's tough for me too because when I have these episodes, when you're running a business, you really don't get a day off.
Hmm.
Not unless you're here. You know what I mean? Like when
Yeah.
when you're here to here somewhere in this range, you don't get a day off. You don't get a day
Yeah,
off till you're top dog. You know what I mean? Like, and
yeah,
I'm doing well, but I'm
yeah,
not, fully staffed and everything where I can take multiple days off and not have to worry about my business being on autopilot. That's something that I'm working on this year. But so it's
mhm.
hard for me to have these episodes because the clients, not saying they're heartless people, but they don't care.
Yeah,
I'm working with their livelihood. When I manage
mhm.
a property or I help somebody purchase a property or I help somebody sell a property, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like
For
they're
sure.
like, oh, sorry to hear that, but what's going on with this deal? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I respect
yeah.
it. It's just tough sometimes.
It definitely is tough, man. I kind of, I don't have a business or anything right now. Hopefully, in the future, I'm trying to, do my own thing because, like I said, sometimes it's hard to get hired, being in a wheelchair and things like that, and all that. So I'm trying to get my own thing going on right now. But I got a buddy that started, a couple of years
Yep.
ago, started an insurance agency. So
Hmm.
that grind you talk about
Insurance is
doing,
big. Insurance
you
is
know what I'm
big.
saying? That and he's good. And he's good talking to people, sales and things like that. Kind of like what you
Right.
talking about, like and
Right.
you know, but he talked about that, man, working all the time, man, and that grind that you talking about, he do it. So I definitely understand what you
Bro.
talking about.
It's 7 days a week, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that, I'm not now don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I work 8, 10, 12 hours every day, 7 days a week. No, that's not what I'm saying. Because obviously, you see my post and I'm I'm living life too. But
Yeah, for
there's
sure.
I'm enjoying life as well, but there's not a day goes by that I don't at least text a client, talk to a client, email a client,
Mm-hmm.
look at a property, handle something, property
Mm-hmm.
management wise. There's not a day go by that I don't have to deal with something in my business. So,
I feel that.
the goal is to get there one day where I can leave it alone for a few days and it don't burn to the ground.
And that's a good sign right there, man. I hope you get there real quick, man, for
I'm
real.
getting close,
Like
baby. I'm getting close.
I applaud all my friends and everything that's doing something big, and even where I'm at right now in my life, like the people that so it's not that I hang out with knuckleheads, but like I had to really change and get around and surround myself with people that were doing something special in the
That's the biggest
community
thing, man.
and in their life,
That's the biggest thing.
and it changed my thought process, and
It
it
will.
was like, and they look at me like, bro, why you ain't doing something?
Yep.
Like you
Yep.
good,
Yep.
and my insecurities, they like, hey, bro, you good with people, you good with this, you can do that. Why you not doing? There's no excuse. That
Yep.
wheelchair is not an excuse for you not to be doing that.
Yep. And I gotta agree with them, man. It's we all got insecurities, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how successful you are or who you are. I don't care. You could be the most famous person in the world. I'm sure they got insecurities as well. But I just feel like we have to play on our strengths, and then just fine tune that. But to your point, one of the first things I learned in real estate was we're a reflection of the five most people we're around. And
Mm-hmm.
if you think about that, man, it's kind of eye opening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because who are those people to you? And what are they doing? And I don't know if but I do a lot of mentoring and things like
Mm-hmm.
that with the young men in the community. Sometimes the young women too, but mostly young men. They kind of gravitate to me, and
Yeah.
I tell them all the same, man. I call it cutting the fat because we all,
Mm-hmm.
growing up in Edgewood, especially, man.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Meadowood, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of not saying that they don't care about you or they're not your friend, but there's a lot of ulterior motives out there, and
Yeah.
you got to put yourself around the people that are doing things, doing positive things. It's cutting the fat.
Mm-hmm. You're right, man. And I mean, even growing up at Edgewood, I got the right personality, the right personality to do what I need to do because I've been there,
We're
bro. You know what
chameleons,
I'm saying? Yeah.
you know.
So
We had to be.
um,
they
it's like, hey,
didn't love
don't
us.
take me being in the don't take me being in the wheelchair for weakness, bro. You don't know
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't know
yeah.
where I grew
Exactly.
up.
Exactly.
You don't
Exactly.
know where I grew up. So But I just, I don't know, man. I feel like, and that's why one of the reasons why I do my podcast, because I want people to understand that it doesn't matter where you're at in life, you can be successful. Um,
Absolutely.
so, hey, but you know, I really want to ask you a question, man. Like, so let's do a little simulation, bro. Like, how would you
So
go about? And I've been wanting to ask, and this is another. Um, I've been thinking about this for a while. Like, so what if I wanted to get a place?
hmm
I'm in a wheelchair.
hmm
How would you go about doing it? Like, what questions would you ask me? Like, I know I'm putting you on the spot, bro.
Okay. Let me say I gotta put out a couple disclaimers, right?
Yeah, go
uh,
do you? Yeah.
Yeah, only because this is a very very hot legal topic when it comes to
Okay.
real estate. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know Tennessee laws, so I'm gonna speak very generally when I answer your
Well,
questions.
well, just pretend like we back in Maryland. Like
Yeah,
we, I mean,
I'll speak on Maryland,
yeah.
and just my ethics in general. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so are you looking to purchase or are you looking to rent?
I'm looking to purchase.
Okay, actually, it makes it even a little bit easier to be honest. Um,
Mm-hmm.
So purchase wise, I would sit down and understand your needs
Mm-hmm.
because disability is not always cannot always be seen physically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like my disability. Um, I know the government doesn't always recognize Lyme disease as a disability, but sometimes they
Mm-hmm.
do. I just never felt like going through that whole battle to be honest, and I probably should have, but I didn't. So like my disability, you cannot see it.
Yes,
So
invisible.
right. It's physical, but you can't see it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit different than your disability. Um, so I would see what your needs are because there was a case where I don't know if it was a gentleman or a woman was in a wheelchair and the realtor only showed them bottom floor stuff, bottom
Mm-hmm.
floor stuff, ranchers, without asking. Well, come to find out, that's not necessarily what they wanted. The realtor was sued. The realtor lost. So I guess the moral, yeah, right. It's very sticky. So I guess the moral of that story is understand your client's needs. And
Mm-hmm.
because Luke could say, I don't necessarily need a one level. Maybe I'll get equipment put in that will get me up and down the stairs or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the case is. And I get that because I guess people with disabilities it's automatic, almost automatic judgment sometimes when people look at them
Yeah.
like a realtor may look at you and think you only want a one floor house, but you might not. So
Mm-hmm.
I would understand your wants, your needs, things like that, just like I do any other client though. Any other my buyers, that's the first thing I want to do. I want to understand what they want and what they need. Your wants and needs list and your must haves and all those things. So once
Mm-hmm.
that happens, we'll go on a search for your house. And there's so let me give you a quick example of a VA client I had. Unfortunately, he passed last year, um, and that was rough because we literally just got him his dream home not that long before he passed. But so long story short, the VA meaning military. If anybody don't know that, a VA client means you have a military client and they're going to get a veterans loan. So the VA not only funded his whole loan, his down payment, and everything else, they also gave him $100,000 to do any improvements he wanted to that
Oh
house.
wow.
Yeah, he was in a wheelchair, and he had no legs from the knees down.
Okay.
So they gave him 100 grand, a grant didn't have to be paid back or anything. Um, I
Mm.
mean, he was a really solid guy. Like I said, military vet. I will tell you this: he was very straightforward. I'm putting that very nicely,
Yeah.
but he did not play any games. If you asked him for a document, he had it within like 20 seconds. He was on top of his stuff, so you couldn't knock it.
Yeah.
it just a very straightforward guy, and there are grants out there for regular folks. They can also get improvements made to their house, or there's other things we can do to maybe save you some closing costs or something
Mm-hmm.
like that in your pocket. Maybe we can get the owners to help pay some of the closing costs or give you a credit, like if you want to turn the porch into a ramp, just an example.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Like um, say you saw my house, for example. I don't have a ramp outside. I have steps. I have
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 steps, and you love the house. However, you're tight on money. You got your down payment, you got your closing costs, and that's a lot of money these days.
Yeah.
So you got 25 grand in your pocket. That's all you got, and that's what you're using. We could sometimes go to the owner and say, "Hey, could you credit them to turn that porch into a ramp? We gave you a good offer. We played nice. Can you play nice with us?" So that would be one of my tactics to negotiate, maybe to get that ramp, for you.
Okay.
Or um, even if the bathroom, just another example. Maybe the bathroom needs, the handlebars and things like that in there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, at that point, maybe I could credit some of my commission back, and you're able to get that as a credit too. There's multiple. If you got a good realtor, there's multiple things you could do to accommodate your client.
Yeah.
Or
I got you.
uh, say if you buy a condo, for example,
Mm-hmm.
condo association. We'll just say you buy a bottom floor condo, right? Because they already got you could go right in through the porch. Well, the condo association will actually, if you petition with them, they'll actually make that a handicap spot, because a lot of the parking lots don't have a signed parking. But if you are
Yeah.
legitimately disabled and you petition with the condo association, I know from my experience they will put a handicap spot in front of your condo.
I got you. Yeah, I got you. That's what's up.
Yeah, so you're not parking, 10 spots down, and
Yeah.
now it's flat, so you don't have to go over it with your wheelchair. You go straight through, things like that. So there's, like I said, there's multiple situations if you have a good realtor to accommodate some of those things.
That's what's up. Um, yeah, that's a lot of information right there because I don't know nothing about the real estate game, man. So,
Dude, I can talk real estate all day, baby.
yeah, I heard that. I just ask a question, but I do want to I'm sorry. Sometimes I'll be all over the place with my
No, no,
because the
I'm
conversational style. So when I
yep,
get the conversation, I think about a question I could ask before,
sure,
but
sure.
but one of the questions was when you first got into the game, um, was what was one uh, what was probably the most difficult thing to overcome or
Phew.
obstacles a better word.
So that's another good question. Lou, you go out, man, you go out to take your platform national, man. I'm telling you, you got to these some good questions, man. Better than some of these other, million view podcasts. They go out to move over, man. Um,
Yeah, appreciate
now,
that.
I think one of my um, major obstacles was just being me.
Mm-hmm.
I stepped into a world where nobody was like me. When I say that, I mean it was I got into it 15 years ago. Now a lot has changed in 15 years. Now I see a lot more people like me. When I say like me, um, I mean this is how I dress. Orioles fitted hat. Real estate shirt on, gold
Mm-hmm.
chain. Things like that. I I stayed authentic to myself, no matter what they told me, because back then, these wasn't cool. The tattoos
Yeah.
wasn't cool.
Mm-hmm.
The older, I ain't gonna say older, but the people in the industry would tell me, no, you have to wear a button up. You have to wear a blazer if you want to be successful, and you have to do this. You have to do that. Basically, wanting me to change my whole appearance, and just me in general. And I stuck to the script. I didn't walk into it with money, like we said. We're both from the same area, dude. A lot of these other realtors kind of had this silver spoon, type of deal. So they walked into it with a demographic of, we'll just say Northern Hartford County demographic, Bel Air,
Mm-hmm.
Austin type
Yeah.
area. I walk into it
Mm-hmm.
with the Edgewood rental demographic. You know what I mean? It's a look,
Yeah.
big difference.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what I put my stamp on, and I stuck to it, and I've been successful.
And I definitely appreciate being authentic and a person being true to themselves. Because I don't think you could have been successful doing this if you wasn't true to yourself. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like
agree.
people don't trust you. People can see right through all of that. So
Hmm.
look, I feel you, bro. I got this shirt on. This is about the dressings I get, bro. I don't put suits. This is what I want. I'm in a
Don't get me
gray
wrong.
t-shirt.
I dress up for a settlement, stuff like that.
Mm,
You know,
you got to.
yeah, it's an occasion. I want my people to
Mm,
feel good on settlement day.
mm,
I want to feel good every day, but let's be honest. Like
yeah.
some of these transactions can get a little wild. But on settlement day, I want to come through, looking good and feeling good and with a big old gift basket and everybody be smiling.
Mm.
But you know, uh, other than that, events, yeah, I'll dress up for certain networking events and things, but for the most part, it's just me.
Girl, I feel that, man. So, are you in the 15 years? Like, do you have any competitors? Like, who's your rival, man? You got any rivals?
Let's just say, dang, Luke, you give me them zingers, man. I'm gonna make you send me that. I'm gonna make you send me the list first next time. um, let, let's just say,
I mean, you gotta say no names or nothing like that, but like, yeah, I got a
no.
couple. What are you doing?
Well, here's the thing, right? When I first got into real estate 15 years ago,
Mm,
everybody hated each other. It was
mm,
really freaking weird to me, to be honest. Um,
mm,
I felt like I'm not I'm not going to be, I don't know, catty or whatever word you want to
mm.
use with these folks. I like to catch more flies with honey than vinegar. So that's
Yes,
that's
sir.
another thing I stuck to that people wasn't doing back then, and
Mm,
it's worked out really well for me. I've made a lot of good friends. I made some good business associates. Like I to this day now when I get into a deal with somebody, it's much easier that I've already worked with because
mm,
I'm a good agent and they're happy about that. And that means a lot for an agent on the other side of things. When I got multiple offers coming in and you got one offer that looks absolutely like crap and you can tell the agent is trash by the way they write the
mm,
offer versus somebody you've already worked with and is an all-star. I'm not saying that that person's going to get it because there's been situations they don't, but that's something I'll definitely let my client know. Like, look, I've
mm.
worked with this person, they're an all-star. This person submitted the offer and it looks absolutely horrible. You know what I mean? So I gotta let them
Yeah,
always makes their own decisions, but that's something that there's something to say for that.
I feel
But
that.
as far as rivals, so going back to that, I got some people in my same circles, and it's one of those things where I look at it like healthy competition. You know,
Yeah, for
and,
sure. Mm,
I'll never have unless you specifically do something to me or say something wrong about me, which has happened. I mean, I've been in this 15 years. So,
mm,
I've got some people out there that have said some untrue things about me and things like that in order to get business for themselves, which is absolutely disgusting if you ask me. I wouldn't do that to anybody else. Um, so those people, I don't even consider them rivals. I consider them trash. But but
I feel you.
but I do got a lot of healthy competition out there. And say if I lose a client or a listing or something to one of those folks that are just good at their job and beat me at something, I respect it. I
Yeah,
don't dislike them. I say, what do I got to do better, or what did
yeah.
I
I
do?
mean,
What did I do that they did better?
yeah, I like that, man. And that's what it's got to be about, man. Just stay healthy, like in everything. Healthy competition, man. Just pushing yourself and pushing the other person to be the best. Because
Dude,
ultimately, you serve your community and everything.
correct. Yep. And
Mm,
and I'll see these guys out and I shake their hands. I even buy them a drink. Hey man, you got that one. You know what I mean? You got that one. And
yeah.
it's all good. It's
Mm,
all love. And sometimes we even work together. Recently, I'm not going to get into details on transaction, but recently I had somebody kind of not necessarily steal the listing, but he got the listing over me.
mm,
And then I ended up bringing them the buyer. So it worked out
Yeah,
anyway. We all worked together
yeah.
anyway. So, but I
That's
wasn't
what's
bitter
up.
about it. You know what I mean? Like it just is what it is.
I feel that, man. Well, uh, I think I'm gonna wind down because I can ask you a lot of questions, have you here for 2 or 3 hours, man. But
Yep,
I got to go ahead and do some things today myself and run some
absolutely.
errands and things like that. But so I probably want to ask you about maybe 2 or 3 more questions, short
I'm
questions.
here, bud.
Um, so let's just say, ultimately, let me see. Let me think about this for a minute because my bad, I'm not prepared for this. I just
Let me let me throw something at you while you're thinking.
go ahead.
I've heard you. I've heard you say a lot, like being in real estate and being in business in general. I've been through a lot of trainings.
Mm,
I watch a lot of motivational clips, and
mm,
I don't listen to as many podcasts. Everybody's successful is like listen to podcasts, and I
yeah,
don't. My attention span is this much, to be
I feel
honest.
you.
You know, it just to be totally honest. But I listen to a lot of clips. I watch a lot of motivational clips. We
Mm,
actually do. At my office, I run a TED Talk every Tuesday.
okay.
Yeah, it's laid back. Agents just come in. We watch a motivational video, whatever. We talk about it. Boom. That's not really even real estate related. Sometimes just personal growth type stuff. But
Mm,
my point is, I've heard you say the words hopefully and try a lot.
mm,
Um, I like you to start saying alleviating those words. Those are pretty much filler words, and you got
yeah.
to start navigating your words, man.
Mm,
Um, like when you said, "I'm trying to change my podcast to this," it's
mm,
I'm changing my podcast to this, or
okay.
hopefully changes to when I do, not hopefully when I do, just when I do. Once you start,
Okay. I got you.
you see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Once you start leaving
Okay.
those, alleviating those filler words, when you say it, you're speaking it into existence. You're speaking it to your mind. And then when you're writing it down, it's even more powerful.
I feel that, man. I appreciate that, and I'm going to from now on use those different words and not those filler
It
words
changed my life when somebody told me that. I
because
used to give speeches, and they were like, "Well,
yeah,
you're using all these filler words." I'm like, "What do you mean?" They broke it down. It's like, dang, it changed my mentality a little bit when they
mm,
pointed that out to me.
because I think even thinking about it now, like the filler words it sounds like you second guessing yourself or like
That too. That too.
yeah, it
Oh,
just it that doubt.
direct dialect resonates with people more too.
Mm-hmm.
I do it too. I still say, I'll get caught up. Like, I just said, it's a filler word, but I'll get caught up sometimes. So I'm still working on it myself. I just wanted to give you that tidbit because somebody gave me that, a few years ago.
Well, I definitely appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. So I know what I got out the conversation. I mean, I got a lot about stuff, but for myself, that's what I'm gonna start doing things like that. But for anybody that's I guess wanted to buy a house or do something, do you have any tips for them to when they talk to a realtor?
Yes. Whole lot of tips. First one is pick a realtor that's there to help you, not one that's just
Mm-hmm.
there to make a transaction. I feel like a lot of people get those two things confused. I've
Mm-hmm.
gone out on many, many limbs for my clients. Even if you don't pick me, I mean, sorry to hear that, but even if you don't, even if you don't pick me, please just pick somebody that cares about you and not just your transaction. Um, Make sure that you're taking care of your credit because it's easy to let it slip, and
That's what I'm
it's hard to get
typically
it back. Yep. So take care of your credit. We're around a 640 bar. If you're wondering what your credit should be, I say at least 640 in Maryland. And I'm
mm-hmm.
pretty sure that's probably the Fed bar too, which means all throughout the federal lending. Um, and just know that it's not smooth sailing right now for buyers. So come prepared. Come with your tough skin. Come with your checkbook. We're doing our best to keep money in our buyers' pockets right now, but the inventory is still low. So
Mm-hmm.
you know, it, what I like to tell my guys is save up as much as possible. Not saying we're going to use it, but just have it in case we need it.
Yeah.
And same thing for pre-approvals. If somebody says, "Oh, I only want to spend, say 200,000," a lot of times I'll tell them, "Well, get your pre-approval for 250." And they say,
Mhm.
"Oh, you trying to make me spend more money?" No, but if we're out there and we're looking, and we get in a situation where the house might be 200 right at your budget, and then now you're bidding against somebody, we're not going to have time to keep going back and forth and getting you 5, 10, 20 more $1,000 to get into this bidding situation. You need to have that on hand. Or you might
Yeah.
just see that house that you're willing to say, okay, I'll go 25 grand over my budget because I love the house. And we just need that
Yeah.
on hand. So I think those three things are important. Just make sure you pick a good realtor, good team, basically. Good realtor, good loan officer, good title company, good home inspectors, and you'll be good.
And I got one more question, man. You don't have to answer it. If you do, you
Ah,
got to
man,
think
I'm
about
here
it,
for. I'm an
whatever.
open book for you, Luke.
But but I just want it just in general, not about real estate, but just something. It's just a piece of knowledge that you have learned in life that has helped you get through your day.
Whew.
Not just push through, just to push through.
Man, be grateful for everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's helped me on my good days. It's helped me on my bad days. I just I don't know if you saw my recent post, but I try to remember to put a lot of grateful posts up. I call them grateful posts
Mm-hmm.
because I am grateful, and I no matter what's going on, I know where I came from, and it I'm just grateful for where I'm at and what I have. So that's my biggest piece of advice: be grateful for everything.
Yeah, man, I love that, man. Hey, man, I appreciate you for coming on, man. That's it. I appreciate you for coming on and getting to chop it up, man. Like I said, I don't get a
Yeah,
lot of
of
people
course.
from Maryland and my from where I grew up at
Right,
chop
right.
it up, and I like you say, you want to have a little piece, get back to where you're from,
Yep.
and it just it feels it's special to me when I get somebody on that grew up in the same neighborhood that I did.
Hey man, well I'll say one thing. If y'all don't know, man, I'll say one thing about Luke. He seems a little serious on the podcast, but Luke's a jokester. I tell you,
I,
seeing him in school. A lot of people don't know this either, but I never even graduated. But that's another story for another podcast. But
oh, for sure, man. Yeah.
when I would see Luke in school, it even with him being in a wheelchair, it was always smiles.
Mm-hmm.
It was always just him clowning and having fun, and other people around him laughing. Luke was just a very positive guy, and even to be in his situation, you just never saw him down. So he's the
Mm-hmm.
inspiration, not me.
I definitely appreciate that, man. I
Of
definitely
course, of
appreciate that.
course.
Well, don't get off here, but I'm about to get off the record, but I'm gonna talk to you a little bit after this. But yeah.
Okay, that's right. Cool.